You better be entrepreneurial. You better be just a get shit done person and Google it and figure it out, because I don't have all the answers. We're not experts in any of this.
And I want a good show, damn it. Ready for a good show?
Doing awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, Angie. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I've always been doing big into archery, and my dad said, "Hey, you guys want to start an archery store?" Because that's how I was.
Yes, of course. Let's do this together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. I am your host, as usual, Andrew Maff, and today I am joined by the amazing Colleen Waguespack, who is the founder over at Fig and Dove. Colleen, how you doing? You ready for a good show?
Great. Yes. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. Definitely a slightly different realm, at least from your background, but I don't want to give it away. I always like to do the usual and kind of let you do the fun stuff. So tell us a little bit about, your background and then obviously how you got started with Fig and Dove.
Sure. Okay. So a little bit about Fig and Dove and then a little bit about me. So Fig and Dove is a brand that I started in 2015, and that was to complement my interior design practice. So I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, one of 6 kids, always very creative, very entrepreneurial. Love being from New Orleans. It's just a town where everybody moves to the beat of their own drum, which is a great place for me to grow up. Majored in interior design. And we moved to Washington, D.C., where I worked for commercial architecture firms for 10 years. Then came back to Louisiana with 3 kids, my 3 boys and my husband. And through my interior design practice, was always looking for a void in the market and a way to actually start a brand and not overlap something that already existed or was saturated. And oddly found it in high-end Christmas decor. And Fig and Dove started as a line of high-end Christmas decorations that were really designed to complement the interiors of the homes that I was working on. So that's how we got started.
Interesting. So the seasonal side, obviously you mentioned mostly on the Christmas side. Did you start getting into other seasons as time went on?
Absolutely. But I didn't think I was going to do that at first. And that's not how we started. So I started and I said, you have to be known for one thing and you have to do something well. And I really, in the beginning, said there are no nice Christmas decorations. Not only are there nice Christmas decorations, there's not things that look equally good in a modern home and in a traditional home. They're well made. And there's something that you're going to bring out this year and you can bring out in 15 or 20 years and they look equally good. Yeah. And when I was looking at what was currently on the market, it was all thematic and sparkly. And even when you look at like competitor brands and Pottery Barn and Front Gate and people that are doing Christmas big every year, they have a theme. So it's one year it's a tartan Christmas, and the next year it's a burlappy Christmas, and then the next year it's, sparkly, And I said, the problem with that was Christmas stocking specifically is your family grows and evolves and changes, and you want to get the exact same stocking. And so I said, really, people need to just make really well-made classic items. And it started on the interior design side. I had all these great tradespeople I was already working with that were embroidering the custom edges of drapes. And I knew all the details in sewing from them. And I said, I'm just going to make really well-made things. But the biggest difference to this day between Fig and Dove and other brands is we carry the same stuff every year. And then we add layers to make it new and make it interesting and make it fresh because it's sort of a collection. So it's like one year you might get our stockings, the next year the acrylic stocking holders, and then you'll get the acrylic star topper. But it's not like people generally just go buy the Fig and Dove collection. And what I also like about that is the same customers come back. So we continue to grow, but then we bring back the same customers. So I did start with just Christmas, and everybody kept saying, oh, what are you going to do for Easter? And what are you going to do for, Halloween? And at the time I was thinking nothing, like I don't put out a bunny at Easter. I'm an interior designer, and, I'm a very pared down, a few nice, simple things to style, not millions of layers. So in the beginning I was thinking nothing, we're just going to do Christmas. And by going wholesale as well as direct to consumer, it actually in some ways allowed me to stay in Christmas for at least the first 3 years, because what we did
Yeah.
was we were direct to consumer in the fourth quarter, but in January, we were already going to market and selling to big stores, going back to market in July and selling to all the smaller stores, and then really focusing direct to consumer at the end of the year. And what really got me into moving into year round product was Instagram. I mean, where do we get our sales? Fig and Dove, Instagram. And where do we
Yeah.
grow our following and therefore get our following to then sign up for our emails and purchase? Instagram for us. I mean, as an interior designer and a brand that's heavy in honestly women and a specific age group of women, which is really late 20s to, early 70s is where, the majority of our customers are. They're all on Instagram. And
Yeah.
so for us, we had to keep those people engaged 12 months out of the year. And you know how the algorithms work or whatnot. We couldn't really create this like big surge in the fourth
Hmm.
quarter and then give them nothing to engage in for the rest of the year. So really, it wasn't as much a financial decision in the beginning. It was a how to keep our customers engaged.
Yeah.
So that's how we really started moving into other categories. And it really wasn't holidays, even though people were asking for us. It's like, what are the extra things you add during the holidays? And it would be like, oh, a beautiful table runner, or, some great bowls, or a decorative bowl, or a vase. Or we try to show people through Instagram and social media and videos and content, we try to show them when you buy something for us, we try to show always where's the add value. So it should look beautiful on its own. And then
Hmm.
if it is a beautiful decorative hand-thrown bowl by Gretchen Murchison, an artisan who's in Louisiana in a smaller town throwing pottery, we might show it by itself. It looks great. But you can also, if you're having guests, add flowers to it. Or if it's Christmas, you can throw on a coffee table and you can put your Christmas cards in it. So we're taking the same items that we're selling to people and we're showing them throughout the year how to continue to style them for different events and seasonally.
Interesting. So, real quick, if I may, for those of you that are listening to the podcast, I highly recommend hop over to YouTube or something so you can check out the background of Colleen here, because proof is in the pudding. The background looks amazing. So obviously, interior design checked off. Well done. One of the things I was thinking about too, as I'm checking out the awesome background, because I'm like, oh, I should do that in my house. Um, the products that you're selling on Fig and Dove, are they private label or are you reselling other companies' products, or is it like
So,
a mix?
so that's a good question. And we are probably 70% private label that we're manufacturing ourselves. Well, okay, let's back that up. We're probably 50% private label that we are manufacturing. Like I'm designing it, we're manufacturing it, we're the only place you can get it. The next chunk you would be actually collaborations. So I see an artisan that's doing great work,
Hmm.
but and we always highlight them. If anything is not designed by me, manufactured for us, and sold with a Fig and Dove label, then I'm always explaining to our customers, this is Beatrice Ball. She is also an entrepreneur. She is from New Orleans, Louisiana. She also went to the Sacred Heart school system, and this is her brand, and this is why it fits into our brand. And then we're doing collaborations where it's okay, well, this is Logan Ledford. She's an artist. She's actually hand painting ornaments for us. And the only place you can get Logan's ornaments are on our website. So, we've got collaborations, we've got other brands' products that we're carrying, but we're always explaining why they were selected, the history behind them, what makes them special. And Beatrice Ball is a really good example because she is a New Orleans entrepreneur and her brand is huge. Absolutely huge. If you go to beatriceball.com, I don't know, she might have 1,200 SKUs on there. Fig and Dove, we carry a very tiny, tiny specific thread. So it's like Colleen Waguespack as an interior designer. These are the Beatrice Ball items that I would use, and this is how we use them, which is why we can still say this is a Beatrice Ball bowl. Oh, and it's on Fig and Dove website, but people don't go to beatriceball.com to buy it. They continue to buy it from our website.
Very interesting model. So basically, your background, you were interior design for so many years, found a hole in the market and created this brand where now not only are you selling your own product line and you're actually putting product into people's homes, you're also helping these other artists start to get placement within these homes and actually kind of take a little bit more of like a platform that maybe they didn't have before, which is crazy. And that's genius. One of the things I'm curious about.
Is always an add value thing too, right? Because it's just like if you don't, it's just product. If you
Yeah.
don't It's adding the value
So
always.
that was kind of one of the things I was going to ask, because like I'm not an interior designer in any way, shape, or form. But if I were to go to a store and be like, "Oh man, I like this bowl. I think this would look good in my house," and then I buy it and I bring it home, and it's like not in the right place or something. Like I know there's specifics around it that my wife's like probably yelling at me. It's not going to go well. But like the shopping on your site versus getting your kind of like consultation around how can I showcase this in my house? How do you kind of draw that line? Is that primarily from like the social and the Instagram side of like, hey, here's
Because I'm
some
constantly
ideas?
showing it. And the other thing is, I love Ina Garten, and I always say I'm the Ina Garten of style, in that, her cooking style is, you keep Takeko pasta, good quality olive oil, some garlic, and a few herbs, and she continually shows you how to simply execute something great. And that's what I'm showing through our social, is just very simple in layers, making it for people that, okay, if I buy this bowl and I get into my house, I actually know how to put it together. Even with wreaths, we started out as Christmas decorations, but the nice thing is, by moving over to the front door, that is something that year round, is a year round
Yeah.
seller. People are constantly freshening up their front door. And so I will say we started out very heavy in Christmas, and still, of course, that fourth quarter is great for all of us. But the thing that's really working for us, and that I'm even moving more towards and investing more in, is the front door. People constantly refresh, update, style their front door. And I mean, again,
There you
I
go.
started out as the girl who didn't even have a wreath. Then it was like, okay, I'd add a wreath. Then I was like, I'll never tie a bow. Like, never. As an interior designer, I would never be the bow girl. And I looked at those big bows and said, oh, that's so not me. But then I came up with the concept of the wreath sash, which is really just tying it in a knot, and that looked great. And then I was like, well, if somebody's going to buy one and there's a color theme to it, like there's a nutcracker on it, well, I guess some ribbon behind the sash to pop the nutcracker, so even I have grown in layers where, okay, I can deal
Yeah.
with that now. I've added a little ribbon. It's still not a bow. It's just a knot, but it's very attainable, but constantly. And we answer people's questions. The hardest thing is we get a lot of traction on the front door, and everybody always says, what's the color of that front door? I mean, they're going to ask every single time, unless it's a white front door.
Mhm.
And the problem with that is, where do I get my backdrop and my ideas and my place to do all this beautiful photography? What's all my clients' homes? And it's like, they paid me as an interior designer to custom select all their paint colors. I can't go on my social media and say, hey, everybody, this is
Yeah.
Hague Blue, So my front door, it's always, yeah. So that's the one thing that's hard, is they always want to know and they ask questions, but we stay really engaged, get back to people. They send us pictures. What scale of wreath would you put on this door? We're constantly trying to make us attainable and like approachable. And, oh, I know that girl. I could just email in, send a picture of my door and say what size wreath, and get back to them. So we are giving the add value of, the interior designer also will answer your questions.
Yeah. And that's a free service. You don't have like a paid
No, no,
virtual
no,
consultation thing going on or
no,
anything,
no.
right? It's like I
Because
would have
they
seen
answer
that.
these questions in 2 seconds. I mean, the girls will walk over in the office and show me the laptop and say, hey, this woman wants to know, what would you do for this? And I mean, I can say in 5 seconds. The also thing that's so nice about the Fig and Dove product, and I say this, I run the business, but you walk back to our workrooms and you see all the product coming out. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's great. It never looks bad. So it's not, it's all within the realm of our taste. And
Mhm.
so, I can easily pick something and say, oh, get that, give them the confidence they purchased the right thing, and also know it's never going to look bad.
Yeah. Your holiday like tables, I imagine, must be just amazing, of all those different. I'm typically not the one that does it. My wife does it, but I did go. She brought me to someone's house once, and the insane amount of extra stuff you get during the holidays just to decorate like a table, and when you're having people over and everything. And that was kind of one of the things I wanted to ask you too, like from a business operations standpoint, heavily seasonal stuff can be a challenge. Like you've got, granted, I know you mentioned like your approach is kind of more on the classic where it's relevant year after year and it doesn't really go out of style, but how do you deal with like inventory and marketing? Like when do you start certain things? When do you place in orders? Like what's that kind of approach?
Well, so that's a nice thing about selling wholesale as well. As in the beginning, and to this day, what wholesale gives me is volume and confidence in stock. So
Yeah.
when big stores buy Christmas, in January. So
Yeah.
the only trade show that I show in currently is Atlanta, and Atlanta has given us the right mix of enough people from the South, Upper North Sea. I mean, the people that are going to really resonate with the Fig and Dove brand come to Atlanta market. So in January, if you're a store that really takes Christmas seriously and you really make your money in that fourth quarter selling Christmas, you're going to buy big and you're going to buy January, because you know that the brands, we place our work orders by March to have them, coming in right after Labor Day, which is when stores want their Christmas product. So what we do is we go to market and we look at January, and I might go to market and we might show 20% more than what we actually put into production. And that's what I love about market. I say, okay, well, should we add this color? Should we add this style? Should we try this scale? And then what happens is after 2 or 3 days, I know what's selling, and I take product down and hide it under the back of the booth. And I say, I'm just going to continue to sell more of what's working, and I'm not going to sell small increments of things that didn't really resonate with people. But it gives me a great chance a year in advance to try new product and new ideas. So in January, we look at January market sales. We double them for July and assume what the big stores can buy in bigger volume, the small stores are going to buy in July, and it's going to total about the same. And then I put on a percentage of direct to consumer, and then all of our work orders are in March. So if you come to market in July, and as a store, you don't get to pick whatever you want. We might be down to a certain amount of stock, or that color might be something, well, I saw it in January, but where is it now? Well, it could be sold out of our wholesale inventory, or we could have decided not to produce it. The beauty of buying in January is if you come to our booth in January and you place an order, you're going to get it. Even if I have to break even and produce something in a very small batch, because maybe only one store bought it, and it's not enough to go into production in India with that, I'll produce it in the United States, not make any money on it, but I want the stores to have the confidence that if they buy in January, they're getting it.
Yeah. So January is your Christmas.
Yeah. So I would say one of the more difficult things is right now in the office, it's push, 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 get all the content out, get all the photography, and get everything up for this year. But then
Yeah.
if you're me, you're actually already having to know, what does Christmas a year from now look like?
Oh,
That's
crazy.
the nice thing too about Fig and Dove, always not doing a complete product turnover every year.
Yeah.
It's just what's new, what's fresh. And for the stores, it's great too, because we have a classic ivory monogrammable stocking that is like the bread and butter of our stocking business. And they have to tell their stores too that, yeah, you can go buy a $40 stocking somewhere else, where a Fig and Dove stocking is $125 to $150. But times 5, and then you add one more family member, you only have to add one more stocking. You don't have to rebuy all 6 stockings. And it's kind of cool because in the 9 years since we started, now I've got people who bought for their kids, the kids are getting married, and now they're adding on a grandchild, and they're just like, one more stocking, one more stocking. But it always keeps bringing them back. The stocking holder, that the adding the one more thing brings them right back to the website.
Yeah. And is that schedule similar for the other holidays that you've now started to incorporate as well?
It's just the same customers coming back. Like, what I love about the Wreath sash is that now it's like, oh, I have my Christmas sash. Well, I better go ahead and get my Mardi Gras sash. Okay, well, if I'm getting my Mardi Gras sash, I'll add the Easter in that. So then what I started doing is adding ribbon to go with every single one. So now, where they were buying onesie, twosie things, and now it's like a sash for every occasion. Also, back to the wholesale market, if you have the Coca-Cola franchise, we can do Coca-Cola sashes for you. If you have a team franchise, we can do team. We're doing schools all over the United States who are, first day of school picks or whatnot. They've got their sash on their door. We're starting to do homecoming sashes because we've done so many weddings. They started adding them to bridal bouquets or whatnot, that it always trickles to the next place. I mean, social media. So now it's like you have to have a homecoming. Okay, first of all, you don't have kids this age probably, but I've got college and high school. And it's like, at first you had to get the girl the little wrist corsage. Then there was a bracelet with a wrist corsage. Okay, so now it's a bouquet, like a bridal bouquet. And now it's a bridal bouquet, plus they've added the wreath sash.
Change that.
So it's like, it's unbelievable. I can't even imagine what the next generation is going to have. It's going to be a full-on wedding, But even in my little group, because even our price point for wreath sashes, I believe is too much. So I'm working on a whole nother line for this. I'm like, there's no way. I'm already the one who paid for the little bouquet. There's no way, even at my cost, I'm sticking a sash onto that. So we're working on a way lesser expensive, not lined and interlined and double sided and all this different stuff. Because one of the moms texted, Colleen, you're the Wreath Sash girl. Aren't we doing these for homecoming? And I was like, no. Even if I gave y'all cost, we should not be spending this much on high school. But then they see it, anyway, it is what it is. The good and the bad of social media. It's like people see
Yeah,
it
really.
and it's like, well, that's what we do now.
Yeah. What's the end game? Like, I know, this is it's definitely, it does have a little bit of a reliance on your taste and everything, but what's the plan with the business as time goes on?
Okay, well, I'd love to say there was a plan. There's not.
There's never a plan. I was just
But
curious if you
there
had one.
is a what would be ideal. I would love to be, because I don't need to unload Fig and Dove. It's not a business that I built to scale and then walk away from. At the same time, it is a lot because it is reliant a lot on me, more on me than I wish it was.
Yeah.
And I would love, there's a lot of in the design world, multiple brands under one umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to be under the umbrella of another brand because then I would have their resources. I mean, when I listen to your podcast and I hear, about marketing and this and that and all those things, we're doing it all under one roof. Those are all employees I have to pay. I have to keep, you know what I mean? It's just like, for it's just the responsibility of, are we producing catalogs and going to sending those out everywhere now? Are we for every item? But if you were at a bigger company, they're already sending the catalogs out. They already have their print company. They already have their, there's a lot of plug and play things that instead of me always reinventing the wheel and coming up with something new, it's not very easy out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana either. It's not like I have a competitor to steal employees from. So, what I say to everybody I interview is you better be entrepreneurial. You better be just a get shit done person and Google it and figure it out because I don't have all the answers. We're not experts in any of this. We just keep figuring it out and keep pushing forward and keep trying this and keep moving. We haven't made huge mistakes because I've done it in stair steps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got more money. We're going to add this. Do you know we didn't do paid digital marketing until spring of this year? But the nice thing about having nice looking product and resonating with people is the shelter magazines have always kindly published us. It hasn't cost us anything. And Instagram, certain reels go viral and certain things grab traction. And that's been enough until this year, in all honesty. Like this year, it finally hit. Okay, we're not quite growing at the rate we need to. And so it's the first year we really brought on paid digital, and it's actually working really well.
Yeah, I would imagine, especially for a brand like yours. Have you ventured into, for a brand like yours, there's TikTok, obviously, and then I think Pinterest would probably also crush it for you guys. How's that been? Have you tried that area yet?
It's like we get a lot of traction on Pinterest, but I don't see direct sales from Pinterest. Maybe it gives us brand awareness, but really for us, it's Instagram.
Yeah.
And then regurgitating the same information that's on Instagram, just in a different format for TikTok.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about Instagram is, you just put stuff up every day. And lots of times it's just I'm doing this in the office. But one I did a few days ago where a customer said, hey, can you style 2 wreaths for me? And can I just pick them up? Sure. Hang them on the wall, do it. So they jump up, film me doing it. But that one, I think this morning it had gotten 150,000 views, right? So when you do that, the sales directly follow that. Something else that you've talked about too, that, we do great with influencers, but we're not going and finding random influencers and saying like, hey, can we pay you this? People ask for product. And so we gladly give it to them. And sometimes we pay small amounts, never anything large, sometimes small, not that often. But what it does is, so for me as an interior designer, always having to use my clients' homes, always having to have the next backdrop, always, it's really nice because the influencers that ask us for stuff already have a great home and maybe even a regional style that's a little bit different than my style, but it's still a great style. It's something I know our customers would like. And so it gives me the photography and the content and someone else using our product tastefully, but also for a different audience, which I love. So we really have found a lot of success working with the influencers as well.
Oh yeah, I would imagine they would do really well. Influencers is always one of those things where, people kind of dip their toe in it and they're like, it doesn't work. Like, you've got to, there's a finesse to it, and there's a certain type you've got to find, and then there's like the relationship is always like how you deal with them. Some of them are not that fun to deal with, but others are great.
And the brands have to have the same general audience and same general feel. I mean, there has to be a value to both of them, and they're both going to get something out of it, or it's not worth doing. But so when people reach out, the first thing to do is I go look at their Instagram, and I say, and also if they're all fashion and people follow them for clothes, 5 seconds of Christmas stockings is not going to help me. You know what I mean? If they don't have really more of an interior design focus to what they're doing, or sharing their home, or, the other thing that we found, there's a sweet spot. I mean, really 30 to 50,000 followers gives us actual real sales. 150,000? Nope. Never.
Nothing.
Yeah, never. And it's interesting because they justify their costs by number of followers, right? So it's like, well, now, I mean, I'm at, hundreds of thousands of followers. So Colleen, we did you in the past where you just gave us product, but really you should be paying me $15,000 and send me product in this. And the couple of times we actually put some real money into it, nothing.
Yeah.
Because by then they're not authentic followers, and as soon as you see that they're advertising for Walmart and Target, then you're like, well, the same person that's going to buy Christmas at Walmart and Target. And by the way, I love Target, but at the same time, the person that's buying Christmas decorations from Target isn't dying to buy their Christmas decorations from Fig and Dove.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the influencer space, especially with the ones that are super high followers and they justifies their costs. I've never believed in that. We always look at engagement rate. I can get a judgment of how many people are going to see this, how many might actually click. Otherwise, there's way too many influencers out there with bots that'll just try to charge you an arm and a leg, and it gets out of hand. But unfortunately, it's always a learning lesson.
Yeah, I would say that's what I'm saying. We've tried it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we didn't try, but really that girl that's got 30,000 authentic followers and all she wants is for me to send her a wreath and a wreath sash, done.
Perfect. Yep. I agree. Colleen, thank you so much for being on the show. I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
Thank you.
I would, I appreciate it. I would love to give you opportunity. Please let everyone know where they can find out more about you and, of course, more about Fig and Dove.
So www.figanddove.com is our website. At Fig and Dove for our Instagram, and all the other handles. And then as an interior designer, my name's Impossible, but always from Fig and Dove, it'll lead you to Colleen Waguespack, my Instagram, and our interior design website. So thank you, Andrew.
Not a problem. Thanks for being on the show. Everyone who tuned in, of course, the usual, thank you as well. Please make sure you rate, review, subscribe, blah, blah, whichever podcast platform you prefer. Head over to the Ecomshow.com. But as usual, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the E-Comm Show. Head over to ecomshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The E-Comm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the E-Comm Show.